With OpenAI's new releases on their improved Whisper model, their text-to-speech, and their Vision API, and all the rest of it, I think it's time to build something really fun. We're going to build an AI agent or an AI that we can actually talk to, and that'll talk back to us. But the first step will be to understand the speech-to-text API or the transcriptions API so that we can work with that. So this is Whisper. So step number one will be to build out a Whisper API in Bubble. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. We build things here without using code. We use Bubble.io normally and AI, specifically OpenAI. So if you haven't already, subscribe. All right, so with that said, let's continue. So we're gonna start by just integrating the transcriptions API here in Bubble. So go to Bubble, go to plugins, API connector, add another API. I'm gonna call it Whisper update, and I'm gonna say we have some headers here, and here we can see we have two headers, authorization, and we have content type. So let's start with authorization, and I have already my bearer here. Thank you very much. So edit bearer and then the API key, bearer, and yeah, token, which is the API key here, and then header, content type, multi-part, and form data. So let's grab that, content type, form data. Okay, and then we can have a call. Let's call it Whisper API. I'm gonna say post. We're gonna use it as an action, and I think form file and form model. Okay, so we're gonna send a file and we're gonna get form response text back. So it's gonna be text back, and we are gonna send form data here, right? Form data, and we're gonna have parameters, and we already have the parameters here. It's file, model, and response format. So let's say file, model, and response format, and the model is Whisper-1, the response format is text, and here files, we can send files, right? So we're going to send a file, an audio file, to be transcribed. Oops, I almost forgot the URL. That wouldn't have made any sense. Okay, boom, here we go, and let me upload a file, and we'll try the API here. So something MP3 personal AI sound. What is that? Let's try this one and initialize. Could also send the URL. So if we have a URL to a file, we can send that as well. And if this is slow, that is what we'll do. Okay, this is quite slow. Let's instead go to grab an audio file. So instead of, where are we? Just lost track here. Instead of sending a file, we're gonna send a URL, and we're gonna add HTTPS here. So this file I think is quite big, so it'll take a minute maybe to get the class string. Maybe like this. Invalid request. Why? Received string. Expected upload file, received class string. Okay, so you expected a file. Okay, that was it. I had to say send this as a file, not as a string. So it grabs the URL as a file and not as a string. So this will probably take a minute or two. So we'll let this initialize here, and I'll just edit this little bit out here when we wait. Had to reinitialize with data type text instead, so initialize call. Okay, and after a few minutes, we got back the entire transcription. So this is probably an hour, maybe even 2 hours of transcription here, or an hour or something like that. So here is exactly how you can set up Whisper API to send files directly from Bubble and to transcribe them fully. And this also auto-detects languages, so they work in I think over 100 or maybe even 200 languages. So this is great. You should definitely use this if you have any form of transcription set up in your apps. You should use Whisper. Now the only caveat is that for diarization, meaning speaker separation and who said what, Whisper doesn't offer that out of the gate. So for that you need a third-party service. There's one called Gladia, that's very good. One called DeepGram, that's very good. But if you just need like the raw transcriptions, this is great. Now, what I want to build here is I want to be able to speak with AI and have the AI speaking back. And now, if we were to use Whisper in this way, we would need to record audio, transcribe that audio, and then send a transcription text to GPT-4 and get the response back, and then send the response to the synthetic voice API and get the synthetic voice and then play that back. And now the magic with being able to speak with AI is that you need a low latency. It needs to be as fast as possible to not feel like congested. So I think we need, instead of doing this like asynchronous transcription, we need real-time transcription. So I searched a plugin here, a plugin store for Bubble. So I prepared like a TV chef, and I found real-time speech to text that uses the browser transcription. So I set that up, and I'll show you how it works. So I have this plugin. I think it's maybe a couple dollars a month. You can buy it entirely for like $10 or something. I'm not sure exactly how much, so I'll have to check it out. And what I can do now is I can say when I click start, I start transcribing real time from the mic here, and then in this text box I set this element's value, which will be the transcription in the text box. And then in the workflow, the only thing I've done is that when I click the button, and so this element has like a state, so it can either be listening or not listening. And if it's listening, it means it'll transcribe, and if it's not listening, it's just silent. So I've set a condition here and said when this is not listening, so when it's not transcribing and I click the button, it will reset the relevant input. So if there's something in the multi-line input before, it'll be removed, and then it will start to listen. So start, speech to text real time. And then inversely, I've said when it is listening, I'll just stop it. And on the button, I have also set a condition that when it is listening, the button text will read stop. And so I can click stop. So let's try this out. Just in the browser here. Okay, so you can ignore that. We'll get to that later. Again, I prepared like a little TV chef. So if I click start here, we should be able to speak, and it should transcribe here in English in real time. Hello, can you help me? I want to write a very short story about a small tree that needs a frog. Okay, so obviously it's not as good transcription as Whisper because it says needs a truck instead of meets a frog, but maybe I was unclear, so let's try again. Hi, can you help me? I want to write a short story about a frog who meets a tree. All right, so we can see that this works. I should say that this is browser enabled and browser based, so it might not work in Firefox, but let's assume it works in Chrome for all Chrome browsers. So I'm using Chrome and it works. And this is great because this is so much faster. And again, this only works for English at this point, but this is so much faster, and I can transcribe it in real time, meaning that as soon as this transcription is done, or as soon as I click stop, we can actually continue our workflow. Now, if you've seen my other videos, and I'll leave a box here somewhere, we've already set up the text to speech, so the voice. So we'll just loop that in now in the workflow. So what will happen is when we click stop, we will send this text to GPT-4, get a response back, and then we'll get send that response, the text of that response, to the speech API, and we'll get a voice back, and then we'll play back that voice. So let's start by doing that. So let's start by doing that. Yep. So this one we can ignore for now. I'll get to that later. Again, I'm prepared like a TV chef. So what I want to do is when we click stop, so the listening is yes, we stop it, and then I want to send it to OpenAI. So what do I have? In my case, it's called, I think it's this one, main OpenAI Turbo. Yep, this works great. So we can say temperature 0.5. I actually want the new GPT-4 Turbo. So I'm just grabbing the model name because I can't remember which one it is, or what it's called, I should say. Here it is, preview. Okay, so I'm gonna change the model. Oops, I only wanted to grab this. I missed the W, but I'll grab that here. Preview, and then I'm gonna say you are a very helpful and sarcastic AI assistant. You are very brief but kind, but again sarcastic. And then I want to say the content will be, can you guess, real-time speech to text value. So what we have transcribed, this will be the content. Okay, and next I want to do the speech, OpenAI speech. So let's, and if you're confused by this, we've already set this up in another video. It's just the OpenAI speech API. So you send in a text and you get a voice generated. Instead of the text here, we will set the result of the previous API call. So this choice, first item, message, content. Now what will happen, given that this works, we will get a file, an MP3 with the voice. So we need to be able to play back that file. So for that we have like an audio player in Bubble, and I'll show that first. So we have custom audio player. This is also a plugin. I'm just gonna drop that here, and I'm gonna put this in the middle. And what I want to happen is we want to have the file here be accessible somewhere in the front end so we can play it back. So for that I'm gonna create a state on the page here. So I'm gonna click here, and then I've already created a state actually. State. So it's called speech. It is a file. Speak, and it is a file. This is, I should probably say speak. I'm confused by that word, speak. All right, let's say voice instead. Voice. Let's say AI voice. Even more clear. Let's do like this, AI voice file. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to set a state here so that we can reference this file. So I'm gonna set a state of the page, and it's just AI voice, and the value is going to be result of this step and the URL, because it's going to give us a file. And what I'm then going to do is we need to connect it to be able to play it back. So I'm going to connect it to our custom audio player here and say dynamic link, and it's going to be again the pages state that is called AI voice says URL. Okay, so if this works, we should be able to transcribe real time, click stop, and then get the audio back here. So let's try that out. Okay, so let's click start and try it out. Hello, can you help me? And click stop. And we should probably add a loading indication, but if it works, we should soon be able to see the audio player with a file. Let's give it a second here. Okay, no, so this didn't work. Your account is not active. Okay, maybe I have the wrong API key. Let's check. Main API Turbo. Let's see. I only think I have the wrong API key, so let's see here. Main OpenAI. Assistant, it's not that one. ChatGPT maybe. Let's initialize this one and see. Slow also for some reason. Okay, so it's the wrong API key. But obviously the Whisper one worked. Let me grab this. Let's try again. Okay, so this works. But you set an old API key. It should be fixed. Let's try again. Let's try again. Hello? Can you help me?
Hello. Of course, I'm here to sprinkle my helpful guidance with a dash of sarcasm. What do you need assistance with today?
Okay, so as I've said, I'm prepared like a TV chef. So what you saw there, the visualization, is what I was going to show on the next step, but doesn't matter, I'll show it now. But anyway, the custom AI player we have, it's this one. So if I click here now, we'll be able to hear the audio.
Hello. Of course, I'm here to sprinkle my helpful guidance with a dash of sarcasm. What do you need assistance with today?
All right, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to have like a Siri-like visualization, because I think it feels more like dynamic when you speak to a system. So something like
Hello.
this.
Of course, I'm here to sprinkle my helpful guidance with a dash of sarcasm. So
I just wrote some JavaScript for that, and I referenced our file. If you're interested in adding this particular specifically, just let me know. I'll drop it in the comments. But let me show you here. So it's this HTML, which references a Java script library, and then I just reference the file in here. So that's it. But you can just use, the custom audio players and so on. So this is only a detail. So I'm going to remove this one, and let's just try something else to see what we have. And I also added a play pause for this one. And this is ugly, so I'll modify it, but it's okay for now. Hey, can you please write a super short, like a 5-word story about a frog? Let's see. And I want to add a load.
Frog jumped, pond splash, oops.
Okay, one more time.
Frog jumped, pond splash, oops.
That's very, very short. Let's try something else. Can you write a reggae song about a tree? Click stop. It all goes to work. And here we should add a loader, right? Because we need some form of indication. Otherwise we get impatient, like I feel now. So it's probably writing a pretty long song here. So I should have specified and said be very short or precise and so on. So we should probably steer these instructions. So that
sure, because when I think reggae, I think dendrology. Here's a little ditty for you. In the heart of the forest where the cool breeze blows stands a mighty tree where the sweet river flows. With leaves so green and roots so deep, it's the king of the jungle, not a lion or a sheep. O tree, sway with me to the reggae beat. You stand so tall without a need to compete. With your branches high and the sky so free, you're just a tree, but you're irie to me. Your bark is tough, but your fruit is sweet. A natural.
You get the point, right? So now we've actually built a system where we transcribe in real time with the browser. We send that to OpenAI, to GPT-4. We get a response back and we render that response with a synthetic voice. And then we have a visualization here. So essentially, we're talking with AI now, right? So if you have ChatGPT Plus and use it on your phone, ChatGPT already has this functionality. You can talk to it, right? But I think this is a nice way to show that you can build this, in Bubble or by yourself or whatever. And the benefit here is that you can build AI-enabled flows. Just imagine, this type of style for onboarding, or you can build very specific agents, anything, right? I think the ability to, in real time, talk with an AI changes a lot of, or opens up, I should say, a lot of use cases. So what I want to do is just want to add a loading indication here. So I'll probably spend like 2 minutes on that. But this is it for this video. So we've learned, how to connect with a Whisper API and then how to build a very simple app to be able to actually talk with the AI back and forth. And I think that is a great use case for building more complex things. So that's it for today. And again, if you haven't done so already, subscribe. I'll see you soon. Oh, and also, by the way, if you have something specific you want me to cover in the next video, please write what in the comments. All right? Thank you. Have a good one.